Shalom. I want to start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Bashem, Yahushua Bashem, Ra'u Kakwadash, called Loyabla Yahweh Bashem, Yahushua Bashem, Kakwadash. Double honors to my teachers, which are the elder apostles of the great Muslim who rule well. And as always, peace and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, coming back with a lesson. And two scriptures that come to mind in regards to what's taking place, different escalating events that are happening. You got, these militaries rising up, and showing their strength. They're doing joint drill exercises because, they know that something is getting ready to happen. So it's best to be prepared, you know, in case, shit finally pops off. And, the scriptures that come to mind, one of them being Joel, the 3rd chapter, where it says, let the weak now say that I am strong. Or the Lord basically said to prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let the men of war draw near, beat their plowshares into swords and their pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak now say that I am strong. And also uh, Jeremiah 49, where it says, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. And with these series of clips, news clips that I'm getting ready to show you, you're going to see that it's being evident that not only are these nations are, getting themselves ready and strengthening themselves against the U.S. Israeli aggression, that basically all nations are seeing right now. They're also becoming despised. So at the end of the ordeal, America and Amalek is going to look up and see that they're the only two nations that are in each other's corner, but everybody else is going to be against them. So the Lord is stirring that spirit up amongst these nations. All right. So anyway, this is the first clip. This is from RT, and you see the title. It says China says it's ready to defeat U.S. militarily if pushed. All right, and we know that they've been, back and forth, economically, having, trade wars, which really, China owns a lot of America's debt. And we know that Biden, he's being used on the interest of the Chinese, if you ask me. The fact that he's instituting, more communism, a communist system that he's implementing into the American system, which is why the Republicans and the nationalists are against this guy. The technologies that you're seeing in China, they finna roll out here in America. So it's all being set, but we know at the same time China, because of what's been going on in the South China Sea with Taiwan, they're ready to take aggression because they're getting sick and tired of the great whore, just going to and fro in the earth, doing what the hell she want to do. All right, and another scripture that come to mind is Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, where it says that he's not a keeper at home, and that's what causes friction. All right, all type of threats of war, which shows you that as long as this devil is in power, there'll never be peace. See, the world cannot coexist with those devils being in power, because all you're going to get is just disturbance and war. And that's what all these nations, this is what they're seeing, and this is what the conclusion is. There's going to be a general consensus among all these nations, including America's own allies, on who's the world's problem, who's the cancer of the earth. And then the Lord's going to put the spirit in them to just act. All right, so anyway, I'm going to play just a snippet of this, and then we're going to get to the other videos that I got. All right.
The French and Japan in joint military exercises. Why? as a show of strength against China. Well, today, China is firing back with some tough words. A Chinese government news outlet has put out an editorial blasting the maneuvers and saying that the U.S. would be defeated if any conflict were to break out in the South China Sea. Here's RT correspondent Alex Mihailovich with the story.
The West is flexing its muscle, and China is not impressed.
The so-called joint military exercises by these countries, frankly speaking, has no impact on China at all. They're just burning a little more oil for themselves.
In a first ever, Japan is being joined by Australia, France, and the U.S. in military exercises in the southwestern part of that country. The drills include fighter jets and amphibious operation exercises, as well as naval maneuvering. Many believe that the activity in Japan is a show of force aimed at China, as Japan works towards expanding and consolidating military alliances in an effort to deter the neighboring superpower. However, it seems that the drills may have been counterproductive in some respects, irritating China instead of working to contain it. According to an editorial in China's Global Times newspaper, the United States will be defeated if it engages in combat with China in its neighboring waters. Another article in China's Global Times said, the People's Liberation Army doesn't even need to make pointed responses to the joint drill since it's insignificant militarily. PLA should make concrete steps in its own development, like it did with recent drills and warship commissioning, said analysts. Japan has had long-time territorial concerns in areas of dispute with China. Beijing has made claims to the Japanese-administered Senkaku Islands, and through the years, there has been Chinese military activity in the area. That said, China has insisted that it is not a threat to anyone and is merely concerned with its own territorial integrity, citing the Japanese exercises as misplaced energy on behalf of the participating nations.
I hope they will spend such time, energy, and resources more in severing their own people's interests and making more contributions to the current fight against the epidemic at home, as well as international anti-epidemic cooperation.
The Japan drills are a part of an increase in military activity involving the U.S. and its allies in the region. For RT, I'm Alex Mihailovich.
Joining us now is
All right, so you see it, man. You know, they're not too fond of, you know, them doing war drills over there in their territory. So you already know what scripture come to mind. Let's go to Habakkuk 2 real quick. Is Habakkuk 2, then I'm going to start at 3. It says, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come and will not tarry. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, which is Esau. All right, we know that he's the wicked, pursuant to Malachi 1 and 4. You know, he shall be the border of wickedness. All right, that's an unrighteous soul there. All right, it says, but the just shall live by his faith. Yet also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. You see, he wants to get everybody on board, you know, with his new world order, and he'll have, you know, his little alliances as long as they, you know, submit up under him. All right, but some nations is like, no, that's not how the get down gets down. All right, and then when you read when it says neither keepeth at home, what shows you that, you know, he's always in other people's spaces. Let's go. Let's go here to the word is Nawah. And when you go down here, and let's read this part in the Hebrew Chaldee lexicon. It says, he is a proud man and does not rest, but seeks disturbances and wars. You see that? That's why it says in Proverbs 4, you know, he sleep not except he have done mischief. And he loses sleep unless he cause something to fall, man. Because all he thinking about is how much he can increase. You know, how much of an advantage he can have, you know, over the world. Even if he has to cause, you know, wars, you know, proxy wars. Okay. He always has his hands in whatever conflict that you see happening. You better believe Esau is right there in the midst, man. That's why the scriptures say in Revelation, the 6th chapter, you know, he's referred to as that red horse. Unto him was given a sword to take away peace from the earth. This is why war is going to continue to happen until this man is taken out. All right. So these nations, they get sick and tired, so they're preparing for war. They're getting their military. They basically stepping up their arsenals, man. You know, stepping up they you know, holding their weight, pulling their weight up, man. You know, get your weight up. Like Jake say in the world, get your weight up. You know, so you don't get, you know, pushed around, bullied around, man. So that's what these nations are doing. Let's go to Joel 3 and 9. And it says, proclaim you this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say, I am strong. All right, and then you saw on the, let me see. Oh yeah, let me play this a little longer, because you're gonna see the, you know, the headline. It says the show of strength.
Former UK Member of Parliament George Galloway to talk about this a little bit. Boy, it just doesn't seem to stop. Every day, it seems, I wake up and there's another military exercise and another military exercise. And by the way, it goes both ways.
Which is all prophecy. I just read it. The Lord is preparing these nations for war. That's what these exercises is all about. The show of strength. Let the weak now say that I am strong. You see?
Taiwan's doing military exercises. The U.S. is doing military exercises with Taiwan. The U.S. is doing military exercises with Australia. Now they're doing it with Japan and the Philippines. I mean, where does this end?
Well, let's take a leap of imagination. Imagine that the United States had 4 hostile countries. I know it's almost impossible to believe. Imagine America had 4 enemies. And imagine the 4 navies of those 4 enemies turned up off the coast of the United States and conducted drills, say in Cuba, with landings, amphibious landings, a critical mass of warships, firing missiles, and so on. How would the people of the United States, how would the government of the United States react to that? And you have to walk a mile in the other fellow's shoes in international affairs. And if you try to, you'll understand how irritating this must all be to China. And what a spur it must be to China's own warship development, the commissioning that was just referred to there. If they're not fools, and I don't think they are, they'll be building so many warships right now that no one will dare to steam up the Yangtze or in the East China Sea and threaten them in any way, Rick.
You and I are old, so we know this, but a lot of our viewers don't because they were born after October of 1962. But what you just described in Cuba kind of happened already in 1962. And we came this close, George, to World War III as a result of that, when the shoe, as you say, was on the other foot.
Well, experience is the only good thing about getting old, Rick, and it means that we lived through the periods in which the end of the world, if not nigh, was at least a distinct possibility. I recall going to bed as a child that night in 1962 and thinking that the world might end. And yet now we are cavalierly dispatching huge military assets into someone else's sea. the East China Sea. The clue is in the name. Now, this is all very foolish and dangerous. It would be far better, now that we're cooperating on the climate change issue, if we could turn down the dial rather than turning it up and getting back to some kind of cooperation.
You have it, man. And you know, they was speaking on that event in 1962, which could have caused, you know, that final World War, but it didn't happen in that time because, you know, the Lord got the angels bound, you know, to hold back the winds of destruction. All right, and you could read that in Revelation the 7th chapter. You know, all the elect, you know, has to be sealed before the destruction takes place. And if you know, if it would have, you know, if the Lord would have, you know, let that happen back then, you know, none of us would have, you know, a lot of us weren't even born then. So, you know, obviously that wasn't the time, you know. But now we seen that time is starting to hasten. You know, it's becoming more and more clear that we're getting closer to that time. All right. So anyway, let's go over to the next one. And this is dealing in Pakistan, where they actually burned the Israeli U.S. flags, because they're not happy with how the U.S. is, you know, which, you know, they're allied together, and you better believe that the U.S. is part of the Israeli aggression on, you know, Gaza, Palestine, and the world is sitting back and they're watching. All right, so let's watch this. This is Elon.
आईएसओ पाकिस्तान की तरफ से आईएसओ कराची डिवीजन की तरफ से तमाम आपने फलस्तीन का साथ दिया और इंशाअल्लाह ठिकाने हैं कहां से इजराइल की हिमायत में आवाजें निकलती हैं
Yeah, you see what that say, you know, and that's ultimately what will happen. Okay, and this is also, you know, according to prophecy, or was that second one of the scriptures that come to mind, 2nd Ezra 9, where it basically says, therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then thou shalt well understand that the Most High spake of those things from those days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Well, you know, this is part of that. You know, people protesting. There's anti-Israeli protests happening all over the world right now. The world is, they're not in Amalek's corner or Babylon. All right, they're actually protesting against what's going on, and they know that, you know, what's being pushed, you know, the narrative that's being spinned in the media is all one-sided, because Amalek basically runs and controls all these, you know, mainstream media outlets, you know, and they're making it seem as if they're the victims that's just defending themselves, and America is basically running with that, you know. Of course, they're gonna side with whatever narrative that they put out because they're buddy, you know. But the world don't see that. All they seeing is that them Palestinians are getting attacked. A lot of women and children are being murdered. You know, they bombing whole buildings and apartment buildings where people live. They bombing a mosque and shit like that. You know, so it is what it is. And this is, you know, also the Lord, you know, giving judgment. You know, He's bringing judgment down upon them Palestinians. You know, you can go to you could read that in Amos, the 1st chapter. You could read Zephaniah, the 2nd chapter. It talks about what would happen with Gaza, you know, Palestine. Okay, but as you can see, the world ain't with, you know, what's taking place. But hey, the Lord is with it. That's why it's happening. And all that's happening is that Babylon, anti-Amalek spirit is being increased in the world. All right, and that leads me to what this scripture here is, Obadiah 1, and I'm gonna start at 1, and the point is that verse 2. It says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom, we have heard a rumor from the Lord, a report from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye and let us rise up against her in battle. It's talking about the Edomites. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. And you're going to see more of that taking place. Okay? This devil is growing more and more despised among the heathen. And also, you're starting to lose your influence. The more these nations flex and ramp up their military might, the more they starting to see you're insignificant to them. You see? They're not really afraid of America like that anymore, like they used to be. All right? Because that technology is spreading. And you also got Russia that supplies a lot of these countries that don't get along with America, which proves that in prophecy pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter, that Gog and Magog will be a guard unto these nations. And Turkey is on that list. It talks about Gomer and Tergama. That's talking about Turkey, which used to be called Asia Minor. All right, and you also got them that's stepping in and voicing their disapproval on how the U.S. is responding to the attacks on the Palestinians. You know, because they're Muslim brothers, so to speak. Okay, so Turkey is coming out and denouncing what's going on, and you're also gonna find out based on reports that they just found out that the U.S. just got caught in it's like a $735 million arms sale to Israel just a couple weeks before this attack started happening. So their hand, you already know that their hands is all in this. All right, they're basically, Amalek got the hammer of the earth in their back pocket. So they're over there causing all that mischief and attacking, but they're getting their abilities from the great whore, which is why ultimately they're going to be on their own when this war takes place. Everybody's going to be aligned against them. So let's play this little clip right here, and then we're going to get, all right, Jeremiah 49.
Publicly, this has not been an issue that's a priority for the Biden administration. In fact, foreign policy in general has not been a priority for the Biden administration. Now, of course, in that respect, it's easy then to fall back on the traditional response or position that the U.S. has always held, that the two sides are equated, that it's usually there's usually a condemnation of rockets coming from Gaza, and simply words of regret at the number of Palestinians who die in any given conflict between the two sides. And of course, also the U.S. Usually goes back to this idea of the two-state solution, even though by many accounts, many Palestinians will tell you that the two-state solution really has no merit when there is so little land left to claim. But that's what we know publicly. Now, what we're hearing privately, we know that the U.S. media outlet Axios here has been reporting that the Biden administration has in fact been privately pushing the Israelis to bring the hostilities to an end, and has certainly pushed them on putting a hold on these evictions of families in Sheikh Jarrah. We do know that Biden's national security advisor, who had a call with his counterpart last Saturday, that call led to then that temporary hold or the postponement of the hearing that the Israeli Supreme Court was supposed to have on these forced expulsions. So there's certainly an effect, and we understand that effect is really being led by the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Public
And all these nations are seeing it, man. You know, so it's just going to increase. You know, them being despised. You know, that hatred is going to continue to grow for both Babylon and, you know, Amalek that occupy our land, the Holy Land. All right, which is going to cause and stir up this war that's going to draw out all these nations, man. Because you heard the brother the elder brother in the Bay, Gadawan, and he called a bitch Kabbalah Harris, okay? And she's voicing, you know, she's basically stating that, hey, we're gonna protect them at all costs. You know, she's saying that she's down. You know, she's getting piped down by one of them, so that only makes sense, okay? But hey, help the further the continuance of the fulfillment of prophecy, man, because that's all you're doing. It's gonna lead to you and your allies, all right, your small hats getting totally annihilated, wiped the hell out, man. So let's go to Jeremiah, the 49th chapter, and let's start at 15. Start at verse 14. I have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent unto the heathen. So not only did Prophet Obadiah, you know, prophesy this, but also Jeremiah too. So they both saw the nations being gathered, you know, to battle for this last great, you know, war, which is the war of Armageddon. All right, gather ye together and come against her and rise up to the battle. For lo, I will make thee small among the heathen and despised among men. Thy terribleness have deceived thee, and the pride of thine heart, O thou dwellest in the clefts of the rock, that holdest the height of the hill, though thou shouldest make thy nest as high as the eagle, and they exalt themselves as the eagle, that's their symbol. I will bring thee down from thence, saith the Lord. And also the fact that they have a space force. All right. They believe that they'll never be taken out of power. But they're gonna find out. Verse 17, also Edom shall be a desolation, everyone that goeth by it shall be astonished, and shall hiss at all the plagues thereof, as in the overthrow of Sodom and Gomorrah in the neighbor cities thereof, saith the Lord. No man shall abide there, neither shall a man neither shall a son of man dwell in it. All right, and that applies to America, Babylon the Great, okay, which happens to be controlled and ruled by the Edomites. All right, read Psalms 137 chapter, around the 8th, 9th verse, and it basically gives you that connection. It gives you that link. O daughter of Edom. All right, it says, behold, he shall come up like a lion from the swelling of Jordan against the inhabitants of the strong. But I will suddenly make him run away from her, who is like a who is a chosen man, that I may appoint over her. For who is like me, and who will appoint me the time, or who is that shepherd that will stand before me? Therefore hear the counsel of the Lord, that he have taken against Edom in his purposes, that he have purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. And who is the least of the flock? Them damn rats, man. Them bastards over there. They finna be the cause of drawing out all these countries over this conflict, man. Because they want to, you know, increase in wealth and in power, you know, and oppress every man in his house and his heritage. So that war is brewing. It says, surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. They're gonna be destroyed. The earth is moved at the noise of their fall, at the cry, the noise thereof was heard in the Red Sea. So they're gonna get wet up, man. They're gonna get hit. Okay. And then, you know, once they get devastated over there, it's gonna make room for the true Israelites to return. And we're gonna bring these other nations over there, and they're gonna build up, you know, the ruins, man. the desolate places, then it's going to be inhabited by us. Okay, because that land is polluted. The heathens control it. They got it in possession. They got their idols over there. They got their temples over there. So they got to get cleaned out. So the Lord is being strategic by, causing war between them over there in that area. Okay. So anyway, I just want to cover, these clips that I had up. We're showing you that not only is the Lord's preparing these nations for war, and the weak is coming out saying that they're strong, and also Esau is becoming more and more despised among men. All right. So prophecy is taking place, man. And that's why we got to constantly watch. All right, watch as well as pray. Okay, so with that, I'm going to close. I'm going to give all praises to Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. And until the next lesson, Shalom.